picture this. You're getting ready for a night out, got tickets to a show you've been looking forward to,
Yeah.
maybe making a nice dinner reservation,
Yeah.
excited for a fun evening.
Yeah.
But then you just disappear.
Right. Yeah.
And the people you love, they're left with a horrifying scene.
Yeah.
And this mystery that haunts them for years.
Absolutely.
That's what happened to Irving Schuman,
Yeah.
a beloved grandfather and a successful businessman right here in Phoenix.
It's a case that's it's both tragic and perplexing.
Yeah.
Irving Schuman, at 84 years old, had built a good life for himself and his family.
Right.
He was known for his generosity, his warmth, his deep involvement in the Jewish community. So to have his life cut short in such a brutal way is something that really shook this community to its core.
It really did. And what makes this case even more unsettling is that it remains unsolved after all these years.
Yeah.
So we're going to take a deep dive into the Irving Schuman case today.
Yep.
We're going to be relying on police reports and interviews to examine all the twists and turns of this investigation.
That sounds good.
We'll explore the initial leads,
Yeah.
the dead ends, and the lingering questions that just continue to baffle investigators.
What's fascinating about this case, I think, is that it highlights the challenges of these cold case investigations.
Right.
Where time can be both an enemy and an ally.
Yeah.
Evidence can degrade.
Sure.
Memories can fade.
Mm.
But sometimes time can also bring new perspectives.
Absolutely.
And unexpected breakthroughs.
Yeah.
So,
let's go back to 2008,
okay.
to the day that Irving Schuman disappeared.
All right.
It all started with a seemingly ordinary plan,
Yeah.
a night out with a friend.
Right. Irving had made plans with his friend Ethan
Okay.
to see a chorus line at Gamage Auditorium at ASU.
Oh, nice.
It was something they did fairly often,
Okay.
dinner and a show.
Sounds nice.
But on this particular evening,
Yeah.
Irving never made it to the restaurant.
Oh, wow. So Ethan must have been worried when Irving didn't show up.
Yeah.
Did he try to contact him?
He did.
Yeah.
He called Irving's cell phone several times.
Okay.
But there was no answer.
Oh, no.
And that's when,
Yeah.
that sense of unease started to creep in.
Right.
Ethan knew Irving was a creature of habit,
Yeah.
always punctual, always kept his word.
Right.
So for him to just miss their dinner date was completely out of character.
Completely.
Yeah.
It's that moment, I think, when a nagging worry turns into real fear.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did Ethan reach out to anyone else?
He did, knowing that Irving had been in a long-term relationship with his girlfriend. Ethan decided to give her a call to see if she'd heard from Irving.
Okay. And had she?
No,
Oh.
hadn't seen Irving since earlier that day when she left for work.
Oh, wow.
And what's even more unsettling is that one of Irving's daughters, who lived out of state,
Yeah.
also called theirs around the same time, concerned that she couldn't get a hold of her father.
So now you have multiple people, all close to Irving,
Right.
starting to panic
Absolutely.
because he's completely vanished.
Right.
What did theirs do at that point?
Well, theirs started by looking around Irving's house,
Okay.
and she noticed something that immediately sent off alarm bells.
Oh, no.
The tickets for the show were still sitting on the kitchen counter.
Oh, wow.
That's when the gravity of the situation really hit her.
Yeah, it's those little details, those disruptions in routine that can signal something's terribly wrong.
Right.
What did she do next?
Driven by a mix of fear and desperation,
Mm.
Faresgone got in her car and drove straight to Irving's office,
Okay.
which was only a few miles from their home.
Did she have any reason to believe that he might be at the office at that hour?
Not really.
Right.
Irving typically kept regular business hours,
Right.
but at that point, there was grasping at straws, hoping for any sign of him.
So she arrives at the office. What does she find?
When theirs pulled into the parking lot, she immediately noticed that Irving's car was missing.
Mm.
Now, keep in mind, this was 2008, before ride-sharing apps were commonplace.
Right.
So the fact that his car was gone was already a red flag.
Yeah.
Then, as she walked into the office...
This is where the story takes a dark turn, right?
Yes. Theirs was met with a scene that would haunt her for the rest of her life.
Oh.
The office was in disarray, and there was blood everywhere.
Oh, my gosh.
Blood smeared on the furniture,
Wow.
splattered on the walls, even on the window blinds.
It sounds like a scene from a horror movie.
It was a horrific sight.
Yeah.
And remember, there's Irving's girlfriend, the woman who loved him.
Yeah.
Can you imagine the terror, the confusion,
Yeah.
the sheer panic she must have felt?
It's hard to even fathom
Yeah.
did she find Irving.
After frantically searching the office,
Yeah.
theirs discover Irving's body in a back storage room,
Oh, my God.
He was unresponsive, covered in blood, clearly the victim of a brutal attack.
Oh, that's awful.
The Trara immediately ran outside and called 911.
So the police, what did they find when they arrived at the scene?
The police arrived at the office around 7:18 p.m.
Okay.
and pronounced Irving dead at the scene.
Oh, wow.
The initial assessment was grim.
Yeah.
Irving had been savagely beaten, with most of the injuries concentrated on his head and upper torso.
They must have had some idea about what kind of weapon was used, right?
That's where the mystery starts to deepen.
Okay.
Despite the brutality of the attack, there was no murder weapon found at the scene.
Oh, wow.
This immediately raised questions for investigators.
Right?
What was used to kill Irving Schuman?
Right.
And where was it now?
It's almost as if the killer vanished into thin air, taking the murder weapon with them.
Yeah.
Did the police have any early leads?
Well, apart from the missing murder weapon,
Yeah.
they also noticed that Irving's fanny pack, which he always wore
Okay.
and was known to carry a significant amount of cash in, was gone.
Okay.
His handgun was also missing from the office.
So they were dealing with a murder, a missing weapon, a stolen car, and potentially a robbery.
Right.
It's a lot to process.
Yeah.
Did they have any idea who might have been involved?
In the early stages of the investigation, detectives explored various angles.
Okay.
Given Irving's prominence in the Jewish community, they briefly considered the possibility of a hate crime. But that theory was quickly dismissed as they found no evidence to support it.
So if it wasn't a hate crime, who could have wanted to harm Irving? Did they have any other suspects?
They started by interviewing Irving's employees,
Right.
who all cooperated fully with the investigation, but
Mhm.
none of them emerged as potential suspects.
Right.
They also looked into individuals who worked in nearby businesses,
Yeah.
but again, nothing concrete emerged.
So you have a beloved community figure brutally murdered in his own office,
Right.
and the police have no obvious leads.
Exactly.
What happened next? Did this case just go cold?
Not quite.
Okay.
Just when it seemed like they were running out of options. The investigation took an unexpected turn,
Okay.
leading them hundreds of miles away from Phoenix.
Hold on. This is where things get interesting.
Yeah,
We'll have to wait until part 2 to hear about this twist in the case, but trust me,
right.
you won't want to miss it.
Definitely.
Welcome back. Before the break, we were discussing the early stages of the Irving Schuman murder investigation.
Right.
The police were facing a real puzzle,
Yeah,
a brutal crime, no obvious motive, and no clear suspects.
exactly.
It seemed like they were hitting dead end after dead end.
The lack of a murder weapon was a significant hurdle for the investigation.
Right.
Without that crucial piece of evidence,
Yeah.
it was incredibly difficult to connect any potential suspect to the crime.
But then you mentioned a twist
Yeah.
that took the investigation far beyond Phoenix.
Right.
What happened?
Just 2 days after Irving's body was found,
Okay.
the Phoenix Police Department received a call from law enforcement officials in San Bernardino, California. They had recovered Irving's stolen Lexus
Wow.
after a brief car chase that ended in a crash.
San Bernardino. That's hundreds of miles away.
Yeah.
Who was driving the car?
2 men in their 30s were apprehended at the scene.
Okay.
Both had a history of drug-related charges and claimed they had found the Lexus with the keys in the ignition
Wow.
and had simply been joyriding.
So they were denying any involvement in the murder.
Exactly.
Okay.
And their alibi checked out.
Okay.
They were indeed in San Bernardino on the day of Irving's murder.
Mhm.
However, they did offer one intriguing detail
Okay.
that piqued the interest of investigators.
Right.
They mention seeing a transient man driving the Lexus before them.
Interesting.
This man then abandoned the car and boarded a Greyhound bus.
A transient man driving Irving's car.
Right.
It sounds like a potentially significant lead.
Yeah.
Did the Phoenix police investigate this further?
They did, and as it turned out, the Phoenix Police Department had already encountered a transient man, matching the description provided by the 2 men from San Bernardino.
Wait a minute. They had already encountered him.
Yes.
This is getting more and more intriguing.
Right.
Tell me more about this encounter.
About 2 months before the murder,
Okay.
a patrol officer had encountered this man,
Okay.
whom we'll refer to as DA,
Okay.
sleeping at a bus stop directly in front of Irving's office.
What are the odds?
Yeah.
It's a strange coincidence that this man, who was seen driving Irving's stolen car in California,
Right.
had been arrested right outside Irving's office weeks earlier.
Yeah.
Did the police find any connection between DA and the murder?
Well, the coincidences didn't stop there.
Okay.
When detectives questioned DA about his whereabouts during the time of the murder, he claimed to have been on a trip to San Bernardino to visit friends.
Okay.
However, his story was riddled with inconsistencies.
Oh,
He couldn't provide specific dates or even confirm his mode of transportation.
wow.
Initially claiming he flew before changing his story to say he took a Greyhound bus.
That definitely raises some red flags.
Right.
Inconsistent stories are never a good sign.
Right.
But was there any hard evidence
Hmm.
linking DA to the crime scene?
This is where the case takes an even more fascinating turn.
Okay.
When the police searched DA, they discovered several gold dollar coins and a $2 bill,
Interesting.
just like the ones Irving was known to carry and hand out.
Oh, wow.
They also found a few $100s in cash on him.
Oh, yeah.
Remember, Irving always carried a significant amount of cash in his fanny pack.
Okay, now that's a pretty big coincidence.
Yeah.
Finding those specific denominations of money on DA seems like more than just chance.
Right.
Did they find the fanny pack or the missing handgun?
Unfortunately, no. Neither of those items was found on DA.
Okay.
However, the money combined with the inconsistencies in his story
Right.
and the fact that he had been seen driving Irving's stolen car
Right.
was enough to make him a person of interest in the case.
So they had a strong suspicion, but not enough evidence to arrest him.
Right.
Okay.
They did.
Did they try to question him further?
But when pressed about the money and his connection to Irving's stolen car, DA clammed up,
Okay.
refusing to cooperate further.
Mm-hmm.
Without concrete evidence, the police were forced to let him go.
So frustrating.
Yeah.
It feels like they were so close to cracking the case.
Yeah.
But wait, you mentioned another twist
Right.
involving the missing gun.
Yes. Years later, there was a development in the case,
Okay.
but it didn't provide the clarity investigators had hoped for.
This is killing me with suspense. Tell me more about the mystery of the missing gun
All right.
and the lingering questions that still surround this case.
Okay.
So we left off with DA being released because of that lack of evidence,
Right.
even though there were some incredibly suspicious circumstances surrounding him.
Yeah.
So what happened next?
For several years, the case just remained frustratingly stagnant.
Yeah.
Leads dried up, and despite their best efforts, the Phoenix Police Department couldn't uncover that one crucial piece of evidence.
That would break the case wide open.
Years went by with no answers. It must have been agonizing for Irving's loved ones, knowing that his killer was still out there somewhere.
Oh, absolutely.
But then you mentioned that the missing gun resurfaced.
Yeah.
Tell me more about that.
In 2014,
Okay.
6 years after Irving's murder,
Wow.
his handgun was recovered in Las Vegas
Okay.
during an unrelated home invasion investigation.
Oh, wow.
The individual caught with the gun claimed to have received it from someone else,
Okay.
but the trail went cold there.
Wait, so they found the gun, but it only deepened the mystery.
Right.
How is that even possible? You'd think finding the murder weapon would be a game changer.
You would think so, right?
Yeah.
But the details surrounding the gun's recovery are frustratingly vague.
Right.
We don't know exactly how the Phoenix police were even notified about the gun,
Mm-hmm.
who made the connection to Irving's case,
Right.
or if any DNA testing was even conducted on the weapon. It sounds like a massive missed opportunity. Couldn't they have used ballistics testing to match the gun to the crime?
Ballistics testing can be a valuable tool, but it has its limitations.
Okay.
While it can confirm whether a particular bullet was fired from a specific gun,
Yeah.
it doesn't necessarily reveal who pulled the trigger.
Right.
And in this case, with so much time having passed and the gun changing hands multiple times,
Right.
the chances of finding usable fingerprints or DNA evidence were slim.
It's heartbreaking to think that this crucial piece of evidence resurfaced,
Yeah.
only to lead to more dead ends.
Right.
Did the police ever get another chance to question DA?
Sadly, no. DA passed away in 2019.
Oh, wow.
Taking any secrets he might have had to the grave, the police were left with a collection of circumstantial evidence,
Right.
tantalizing clues,
Yeah.
and a profound sense of frustration.
It's almost as if the case died with him.
Yeah.
But what about Irving's family?
Right.
Did they ever find any peace or closure?
While the case technically remains open, the likelihood of a resolution seems increasingly remote.
Yeah.
Detective Cervantes, who was involved in the initial investigation
Right.
and is now part of the cold case unit,
Okay.
still holds out hope that someone who knew DA might come forward with information.
Oh.
Perhaps someone he confided in,
Mhm.
someone who might have heard him talk about the murder.
Yeah.
There's a $2,000 reward being offered for information leading to an arrest and conviction.
It's a long shot, but it's not impossible.
Right.
Sometimes all it takes is one person, one memory,
Exactly.
one small detail to bring justice to a case that's gone cold.
Think back to what we know about DA.
Okay.
He was a familiar face around Irving's office, often seen at the bus stop or in the surrounding area.
Right.
If you were a frequent bus rider in that area back in 2008,
Yeah.
is there anything you might have seen or heard that could shed some light on this case?
Right.
Perhaps you remember seeing DA interacting with someone, or maybe you overheard a conversation
Yeah.
that seemed out of place.
It's easy to dismiss those little details,
Right.
those fleeting moments that might not seem important at the time,
Yeah,
but you never know what piece of information could be the key to unlocking this mystery.
exactly.
And remember, you can always contact Silent Witness anonymously.
Right.
You don't have to give your name,
Right.
just the information.
Irving Schuman's case is a stark reminder of the vulnerability we can all feel,
Yeah.
especially as we age.
Right.
It underscores the importance of community, of looking out for one another,
Yeah.
and of reporting anything that seems suspicious.
Right.
Even if you think it's insignificant.
Yeah.
It could be the missing piece that helps bring justice for Irving and his family.
And it's a reminder that even when cases go cold,
Right.
they're never truly forgotten.
Exactly.
There are people still fighting for justice,
Mhm.
still hoping for answers.
So if you have any information about the murder of Irving Schuman,
Right.
no matter how small or insignificant it may seem,
Yeah.
please contact Silent Witness.
Right.
You could be the one to help bring closure to this tragic case.
We'll leave you with this final thought. Remember Irving Schuman?
Yes.
Not just as a victim, but as a vibrant member of our community whose life was tragically cut short.
Absolutely.
Let's work together to keep his memory alive and strive to create a safer world for everyone.
I agree.